What's up, guys? It's EmiNES back again with another video. Here today we're talking about Mega Man for the NES. And I played this on my Sharp NES TV, which is right over there, out of shot, all the time. So, that's great. Anyway, it's a great game, obviously. One of the classic NES games. Now, obviously, most people prefer the sequel, Mega Man 2. Some people prefer Mega Man 3. I myself am a Mega Man 2 gal, so I think that's more my expertise. That's the one I used to play more. That's the one I always go back to. It's one of my favorite NES games, and we'll talk about that next time, but for now, we're talking about Mega Man 1, which is kind of the groundwork for a Mega Man 2, you know? It sets up everything. It only has 6 Robot Masters versus the 8 Robot Masters that would become standard in every Mega Man going forth. But it has some classic Robot Masters that later would appear in the Mega Man Battle Network games, such as Cutman and Fireman, Iceman, you have Bomb Man, Elec Man. Some kind of variation of all of those characters would show up in the Battle Network games, and they maybe always didn't have the same names, but similar designs and whatnot. So, I think that the original Fire antagonist, like the first boss in the first game, looks very similar to the original Fireman from the first game there, so, for this game, Mega Man 1. So yeah, alright, so, to be totally transparent about all of this, I am a dirty scrub who cannot beat the Yellow Devil boss and a couple of other bosses without the pause glitch, especially Dr. Wily at the end. I could do it. I'm not saying I couldn't do it. I will say that I probably cannot do the Yellow Devil without, like, months of practice or something, because I don't honestly think I've ever done it outside of, you have to do it in one of the later games, like Mega Man 3 or 6 or one of those. You actually have to do it in, so I'm not looking forward to that, but at that point you actually get a slide mechanic, so it must be like Mega Man 4 or something that you have to do it in. So it makes it slightly easier. Not that it's any easier, really, but I did play this game on legitimate hardware, so I didn't use any save states. That was a little frustrating. The trade-off was because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to beat the Yellow Devil, because I attempted this a couple of years ago. I think in like 2021 or something I was going to review all the Mega Man games. I probably even mentioned it on the channel, and then guess what happened? I didn't get around to it because I couldn't beat the goddamn Yellow Devil on the Legacy Collection, because the pause glitch doesn't exist. So I had to come back to the classic NES games, and I'm glad I did, because you know what? I tried to play this on emulation. Playing it with a PS4 controller sucks. Playing it with the classic NES controller, this is where it's at, right here, baby. This is all Mama needs, you know? The classic D-pad, you have your 2 buttons, the nice square shape, you know? Okay, the square shape's a little obtuse. I would really prefer maybe something more like an NES, what is it, the Max, that has, but that's got like the stupid little slider thing, you know, so they have the dog bone controller. Maybe I should pull that out. That's somewhere around here. I don't know, that's smaller though. This is a classic kind of controller right here though. I mean, it's just iconic. Look at this thing. This is what you want to be playing your NES games on. This guy right here. So, I mean, I love the little buttons. The D-pad, you know, it's a little stiffish, but it's fine. It is what it is. This was classic gaming, you know, and Mega Man is classic gaming, you know. This is one of the most iconic franchises on the NES. This kind of, I mean, I know other games launched Capcom, but this gave them a nice juicy home release, and that's what they were kind of looking for with Mega Man, was a nice juicy home release of a sort of getting it on that platformer market from the Mario stuff and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, this right here, this is king. I like this. So anyway, Mega Man 1, actually pretty difficult. One of the more difficult of the Mega Mans there, the Mega Men. Is it Mega Mans or Mega Men? Let me know in the comments. So, of the Mega Man games, we'll say, this is probably one of the more difficult ones, despite only having 6 Robot Masters, which each of them aren't that difficult. Some of my main frustrations with the Robot Master stages are, of course, the infamous Gutsman falling platform thing. That really always kills me. And I always start with that one. I don't know why I always start with that one. You're supposed to start with Bomb Man, because Bomb Man is what Gutsman is weak to, and then Bomb Man is also pretty weak to your Mega Buster. So that's kind of where you're supposed to start, but I always do that one after Cutman and Gutsman for some reason. I don't know, that's not the way I always used to do it back in the day. Also, I had an interesting kind of revelation about this game whilst playing. One of the first times I actually played through this game and beat this game was on emulation several years ago, and you might have heard me talk about this in the past. You know, I've told stories about how my brother gave me all of these games and, you know, that were ROM files and whatnot to emulate back in the day, back in the early 2000s, you know. And I would sit there, you know, like the early, I had like 2006 or something, let's say. And I would sit there and just play these games like Super Mario Brothers and Mario 3. Zelda 2 was a big one I played a lot. I think I played the original Zelda a little bit. Like Boy and His Blob was one I played a lot that way. Kirby, I always played Kirby, yeah. So I played these games on like my dad's laptop, like with the keyboard and the you know, all of that kind of shit. Pretty terrible in retrospect. Oh, Metroid, I remember playing that one on there. But it was a magical kind of thing. It's what initially sparked... not initially. I mean, I did play NES games, the Mario games back in the day. I did watch my brother play other NES games. But at the end of the day, this is kind of where my love for the NES really blossomed, you know, was within those emulation days, you know. Final Fantasy, that was another one I played on there. So yeah, I had a really good time playing Mega Man on there. What I was thinking about that was because back in the day, I was playing Mega Man around the same time I was playing RuneScape. So right now, I'm actually just kind of the person I was back then, watching, you know, like, playing Mega Man and RuneScape while watching things in the background and whatnot. So I just thought that was a little funny thing, that I'm back to playing RuneScape, and now I'm also playing Mega Man again in these old NES games. It was kind of like a little nostalgic moment for me. I mean, I'm not like this, I didn't grow up in the 80s or whatever. This wasn't my game that I had back then, and it was like, oh my god, it's Mega Man. But it's like, I have my own little nostalgia thing with it, you know? I mean, for me, the Battle Network series was always more of my nostalgic area, but Mega Man 1 is the first Mega Man that I played, and I didn't get around to playing the second one, I don't think, until, like, later on. Probably when I got my NES stuff in, like, 2012 or so. But Mega Man 1 was great. I mean, it was the start to the franchise. It's just not as good as Mega Man 2 or 3 or any of the other ones, you know? Because it's the first one, you know? They had a lot to improve on, but as a groundwork for future sequels and a franchise that has stemmed into multiple other genres and so many other cool games like Mega Man Legends and like I said, the Battle Network series, and pretty much every series. You know, a lot of people like the Mega Man X series. I've never gotten to that yet. I played, like, the first Mega Man X on PC back in the day. It's not weird, right? The PC version. But, yeah, so... But I love Mega Man. There's probably some spin-offs I'm forgetting about at the moment, but I'm not, you know, I'm not really trying to go into all of that. I'm trying to just talk about Mega Man 1, which I keep avoiding because I'm thinking about all these other Mega Man things that stemmed from Mega Man 1. Yeah, okay, so I want to talk about Iceman, his stage. I talked about the Gutsman part in that stage. I want to talk about Iceman, his stage. Later on in the Iceman stage, first of all, there's those annoying, like, block things, and I hate those. But also later on, right before the end, there's that part where you have to jump on the little helicopter guys that are also shooting things. I always use the platform thing there to just get through that part, but even then, it's tricky and difficult. And I always screw up. And the whole stage has ice physics behind it, so I kind of hate that. And then the fireman stage has these, like, fireball guys that, like, knock you back into all these endless pits that are all around. Because there's endless pits all around this game, because it's, like, an NES game, you know? It's NES hard. It's, like, one of those fucking games. We're already at the end of the goddamn soundtrack. I don't even... What do we just loop back around, I guess? Like... I don't know. We'll figure it out in a second here. Yeah, so... Those are a couple little things that, like, bother me. And then the Wily stages just get, like, really difficult, you know? With save states and stuff, it's really not that bad. Granted, you have some way to utilize that pause stroke. Why did they take that out of the Legacy Collection? I know it was, like, a glitch, but... God damn it. Come on now. It's classic. I need to use it in order to beat the... I know, I'm not a real gamer. I lose all credibility for that, but... But yeah, I do really enjoy the game. Oh, and then of course the fucking Yellow Devil, one of the hardest enemies in all the video games, you know, like... I know it has a pattern or something, and I can probably just get that down, but... The jumping is not entirely precise. It's good for what it is, but you have to make, like, pinpoint jumps over stuff, or you can't slide under it at this point, and it's just really annoying. It's just very difficult. And anybody who's played this game will tell you that Yellow Devil is the biggest asshole ever. And I know kids back in the day probably just got used to it, and they made it through, and they got over it, and they persevered by playing 30 hours of Mega Man or something, but I just want to get through it for the review, so I'm not gonna fault myself for that one. So no, we can't do Mega Man 2 yet. So, and then they have you do the classic boss rush, of course. You know, the whole thing about Mega Man is that every time you defeat an enemy at the end of the stage, you get their weapon to be able to use on other enemies. So another enemy will be weak to one of the other enemy's weapons. That's usually how typically it works, you know, and most of the bosses even have, like, kind of a weakness like that. So that's kind of the whole gimmick of Mega Man, you know, that and platforming and kind of running and gunning, you know, yep, that's what my shirt says, running and gunning. Exactly. 1987, huh? Okay. Well, so that's when the game came out. There you go. But it's classic. Yeah, can we talk about this box art, too? Look at this shit. This is awful. Wait a second. Why did I not... Well, I'll bring it... You know what? Fuck it. Now I'm gonna go grab it right now. We're gonna do this. I actually have... I think it's the same guy. I think he did the first one, too. But I actually have this here, which is pretty crazy. I didn't get this for $10. I don't think, anyway. Maybe I did get this for $10. I don't know. I got this at convention. I think this is Portland Retro Gaming Expo 2018. This is actually when I completed my NES set that year. They had the guy who did the box art for, I think, the first two Mega Man games. Definitely at least this one. Yeah. And so he signed my copy there, which is pretty cool. Very, very cool. Very cool. But anyway, yeah, so that has nothing to do with Mega Man 1. Anyway, so... I don't know. I really like Mega Man 1. It's just difficult, and it annoys the shit out of me in the later levels, like the Wily stages and whatnot. The copy boss. All of the bosses in the Wily part are really difficult. and they take some getting used to. Also, you have to do the boss rush, so you do all of the enemies again, and you have to do half of them on one life and half of them on another, because they're each on a stage. So, like, one stage has 4 of them right before you fight Wily, so if you die on Wily, and you have to continue, you go all the way back to having to fight those 4 Robot Masters again. Luckily, they're pretty weak to specific items, and they're actually not that hard to do, but it's still a pain. There's a level where it's right before the clone Megaman, which is like a really difficult boss, I think, without the pause glitch, which is how I had to overcome him. It took me a while to get it down, because you have to do Cutman, and then you do Electman, and then you do... I think there's another one in there you do too, and then you fight the clone Mega Man, and like it's not a hard level, but it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of difficult to like do at first, and you know, but it is kind of a hard level because they have a bunch of enemies that knock you into pits, and that's the biggest problem with the game. And like, you know, and of these old NES games like Castlevania and stuff, that's absolutely, you know, what the problems is. I should do the Castlevania games at some point. At least the first 2. I don't know about that third one. That game is fucking hard. I lost my mind trying to beat that shit, you know, back when. And then not only that, I mean, it was save states and stuff, it'd probably be a lot easier. But not only that, but Ninja Gaiden, that game fucking killed me. You know, and I know the other 2 games after that are harder, but that first game specifically really messed me up. Like, that and Castlevania 3 really tested my, like, gamer patience. And Rayman 1. So you get the pattern here, hopefully. Otherwise you don't know why I'm talking about these games. This game is hard. And there's a certain caliber of NES hard, and I don't know if this game is specifically that. I think this game is a little easier than some of those NES hard games, but it definitely is within that vein of NES hard, you know? So, the next game is a lot easier. I think I remember the games after that not being so bad. I think Mega Man 5 was pretty difficult, or 4. I don't think they're easy by any means. I know certainly Mega Man fucking 7 or... 7? No, it was Mega Man 8 is really, really difficult, and I fucking hate that game. Slide, jump, slide. Oh my god. Fuck me. Oh, I hate Mega Man 8 so much. It's so bad. Yeah, but like the rest of the game is decent, but like those parts kill me. You know? Oh my god. I remember having to do that shit. Maybe with the Legacy Collections, that'll actually be doable, because there'll be save states and stuff. Anyway, so... Mega Man 1, right? Classic roster of enemies there. The Wily stuff is difficult, like his stage is difficult, but, I mean, you know, and his boss fight especially is very difficult, but it pioneered a whole genre of this, like, sort of Mega Man type game, and the Mega Man franchise as a whole, you know. It's still a big deal to this day, you know, and we can't understate how much Mega Man 1 did for video games, you know, of that era especially. It's just a great game, but there's better games in this franchise, so next time we'll talk about those. Oh, and the music, I don't know if I mentioned that yet. The music is fantastic. Obviously the music in all of Mega Man is pretty awesome, but especially the second game, but the first game has so many classic tracks. They don't go on for very long, but they're all pretty good. So, definitely complimented on that. Graphically, also, the game is colorful. It looks very good. It has sort of a cartoonish, like, anime aesthetic a little bit, you know, like, so for the time, it looks really good for the NES. You know, you gotta think we're talking about, like, 87. I mean, there's not really that many big game. I guess like Zelda or something. Didn't that come out in like 86 or 7, right? So yeah, I mean, we're finally starting to get to some like really good-looking NES games. I mean, even like the first original Super Mario Brothers looks good. Super Mario Brothers 3 looks good, but like this game just like it has a really nice aesthetic to it, and I think the character designs too, and the enemy designs, they're all very good and very well done, and going forward throughout the series too. And you get all these cool powers. I mean, you don't really get that in games around this time, where it's like a system where you have powers that other enemies are weak to those powers after defeating them. And you can kind of go in a non-linear order for the first several levels before the Wily stage, which is very innovative and unique for the time. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, Mega Man is just a friggin' NES classic, and it's a classic series on the NES. The 6 games are some of like the best platformer shooter games on the NES there, you know? So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I have to say about it. The music's good, graphically it's good, gameplay is good. It's a little uneven, not uneven, it's a little unpolished because they hadn't got around to sort of finding, they're still getting their footing with Mega Man, you know, but for the first outing, it's still good, still great. I mean, they hit it out of the park like right away, and it was a hit, obviously, and then they made more, actually, I don't think it did that well, because they had to make Mega Man 2 kind of in their spare time, if I remember correctly, but we'll talk about that when we get to Mega Man 2. So, anyway, pretty much all of it is good. There are some annoying bits to it and some way too hard parts like the Yellow Devil. So for that, I think I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. So until next time, this has been EmiNES saying keep it classic, stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Emily, out.